like when you started sending people or like Sadie and people like that, the groups that came out here volunteered, took stuff to people, you
Facebook.
got them somehow. Was
Yeah,
it was from
Facebook.
Facebook?
Facebook really helped with that because I would look and I would search all over the place. I would search the hurricane relief stuff. I would search everybody and I'd send a message and I'd say, "Hey, I'm Vivian Allen. I live in McDowell County. We have flooding in our area," and that's how I would start.
Hmm.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean that's kind of like where I took off from with the stuff we just did too. We had people that it reminded me a lot of
But
Sadie. We had people
yeah,
from Minnesota just
honey,
show
I
up here.
called so many
It's like holy
people.
cow.
My phone did not stop ringing. It would
Yeah.
go from that morning till late in that night, and my husband would get
Mhm.
so sick of answering my phone. He'd say, "I feel like your secretary." When I'd sleep in, and he'd say, "I feel like your secretary," but and I'm nothing. I mean, I'm a regular person. I'm retired. I don't work. I'm just a regular person that didn't have nothing to do, and that prayed for months for God to use me as His servant.
Wow. And definitely answered.
Yeah.
And that was what blew my mind about this whole thing is that I've never seen people help each other so much.
Oh
Not even
yeah.
a fraction. I've never seen anything like it
No.
before.
Mhm.
And it was almost like there was one of you in each town,
Yeah.
and that led to people across the country and things like that. Like that's kind of the way I see it.
Oh yeah.
It's like the silver lining I think with all this is that the community that we've built even
Yeah.
because I didn't know anybody here hardly at all.
Mm.
Like I was saying that on
But as
post,
soon as I met you, though,
and
it wasn't
now it's
long to where I
like
connected personally with
yeah,
you
I
because I
mean
felt your
quickly.
heart. Like I can feel somebody's heart. If I know they're a good person, I can just feel their heart. Something about them tells me that they're legit.
Right.
And that's all you need to know about somebody.
Yeah,
If they're legit and they're real with you, I mean, I'm going to sin and I'm going to do stuff and I'm going to make mistakes and I'm going to do things that I really wished I could be perfect, but that is never going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't born perfect and I'm not going to die perfect either. I'm a sinner. I was born a sinner and I'll die a sinner. But I do know how to help people. And I would never do anything to danger anything like that. I would never hurt somebody's trust in me
Right.
that needed my trust and that needed something. But now if it's opposite way and you've got a mean person, I'll fight them. It don't matter to me. But it's the people that needs it. That's
Yeah.
who I take it for. That's who I fight for. So that's all that matters. But I do know too that not only this, I want to feed people and I want to get a nonprofit organization started. So I'm working on it right now because even though we're still doing this at the church, I would like to be able to contribute other things.
Right.
Mhm.
And one of those things is to have enough money to where I can build a storage unit out here along the parking lot so we can actually put storage in there to not just service people right now, to be able to pull from that to feed
Okay.
whether it's food, whether it's water, whether it's heaters, whether it's sleeping bags, whether it's tents, and then later on when they get their homes, it could be furniture, or it
Yeah,
could be bedding, or it could
Right.
be pillows,
yeah.
stuff that they're going to need to
The needs are
rebuild.
gonna change and they're gonna
Yeah,
keep
yeah.
going. It's gonna
And
be a
then there's
long road.
lumber. People need lumber.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm like, well, if I had the money, then I could go ahead and supply the lumber so they could build their home. Or, I could purchase the nails or the siding or the windows and, things like that. But I don't know if I could ever get that big. But I do know that with this, I want to turn it around too, to where, and I know I've got a lot of ideas in my head, but knowing that God sent the bear closet here,
Yeah.
knowing
Right
that
next
God
door.
sent
Yeah.
me here, knowing that God sent Danielle here, which is your wife, with her, the sex trafficking things, knowing that McDowell County is a really, really, not just McDowell County, but all over, is really bad on meth and things like
Mm-hmm.
that in the county, we can actually go ahead and these children that's in these homes, that there is drug addicts, which, it's when you're hooked on something, it's the devil that has you hooked on this stuff.
Oh,
So it's not like you choose this lifestyle. But you've got these children that if you're high and you're messed up, they're laying here or they're in that house And what if somebody comes in that abuses them, sexually abuses them, and they don't have nowhere to turn to?
Right.
I want to open up something here to where we can run like a kind of like daycare, if not daycare, maybe just somewhere where they can get away and have fun and learn about Jesus and just be able to eat food and maybe watch a movie or have somebody care for them.
Well, yeah.
Just for whether if it's 4 hours, 5 hours, 8 hours, whatever a day.
Legacy of Hope will be our way in to get that started too, because they want to help with that. So I think it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. We're going to make
but that's what I want to do with the nonprofit. I want to do that certain way. So I've got to figure out. I want to do it all, but I got to try to put it together as my main goal.
Yeah.
But I want to do so much that I've got the ideas for it, but I don't have the financing.
Right.
Now, were you thinking of all that before this happened, or not so much?
No.
You just wanted to be used somehow.
Yep.
And this happened.
Yeah.
So that is a positive that came out.
The only thing that I ever did was I always fought for people, and everybody that I worked with know that. If the bosses or somebody did something against somebody, or like say for instance, that time they cut smoking out down at not smoking, they took away our picnic tables at Coats America because they said it was COVID. So they said we didn't need to sit down. So we needed to stand up and then get right back in there and to work. We didn't need to take long breaks. And some people would work 8 hours a day and go out one time along to smoke enough time to smoke maybe 2 cigarettes and maybe grab a sandwich in between cigarette and then go back into work. Now, this is the only time they sat down for 8 hours, but yet they took their sit down away.
Wow.
And I'm like, what are you doing? I said, you can't do this. I said, I want a meeting with the what was it called? The boss of the company, the one that was over that up there. I said, I want to meet with him and I want to meet with the safety personnel that took these out.
Wow.
So I went in by myself after everybody was complaining about it. Nobody wanted to do anything, but they wanted to tell me about it. So I thought, I can't let this happen. These people ain't going to stand up there all day for 8 hours and not be able to sit down when they come out here. And I have back issues too. So when I went out there to get a break to use my vape, I needed to sit down. I could barely walk because it was a long walk from my office to outside. So, I'm talking about pretty good ways. I don't know exactly how long, but it was long. And my back would start killing me and my legs would go numb. So once I got up there, I had to sit so I could walk back in later.
Right.
But even if I went to the bathroom, it was the same thing. So I had to have somewhere to sit. But it's like I went in there in that meeting and I said, if you're safety personnel, how do you not know that a person gets a break in 8 hours? And I said, when they're out there working on that floor 8 hours, they take one break because they have to make production. But yet you're taking I said, that's not a safety. I said, that's a safety issue. I said, you're taking their seat away so they can't sit down. I said, you want them to stand on their feet 24/7 while they're here? And it's just like, and the plant manager said, and the HR manager too, I had her in there. I said, this is not right. I said, what are you trying to do? You want the production out and you want the people to work and be happy, but yet you take their stuff away that makes them happy. Right. You take their stuff away that helps them on an everyday basis. So we need to fix this. I said, you need to get that back. I said, because this is against your rules. This is against the rules. This is a safety regulation that if you look and you find out these people ain't taking breaks because they don't have nowhere to sit and they're going outside, then that's something you're going to have to pay for. So they knew there was an issue with that. They knew I wasn't stupid and that I'd eventually call somebody and get them in trouble. So they went ahead and put bars out there so people could sit down, bar stools.
So you always had the spirit for it.
Yeah, I always.
It's just the reason I was laughing. It reminded me of me where, like, if I quit my job, everybody goes with me.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
I try to fight for them on their behalf and
One
stuff
person
like that.
told me when I worked at Coats America, because I worked there for 17 years, but I'd done the same thing other places. I always took charge, even when I worked in restaurants, like with Riverside or anything like that, a little convenience store that done a restaurant thing. I would go in immediately and take charge.
Yeah.
Of what I was doing. And I always do that. Even with my job at Coats America, I was on the floor and I run machines. I run machines and would wind. Well, when I finally found out this lady was retiring, but she worked in the labor room, and that's an office job. And it was by itself. There was a lot of work to do with that. And I don't have no education.
Hmm.
I quit when I was 16 years old, school. So I'm hired for this job because back then you didn't have to have a GED. So I got hired in at this job. I was a worker all the time. Didn't think I'd get no jobs, but everybody kept saying, Vivian, bid on jobs. You never know if you could get it. When I first started, like a year after I got there. So this is several years later, and I'd worked several different hours. I'd work third shift, second shift, first shift. Well, this job was on first shift, and it was my own office, and I could do my own thing with everything. So I wouldn't have a boss breathing down my neck because I didn't need a boss. Everybody I worked for, they didn't have to tell me what to do because I already knew what I was doing. And I would do it and do my job, and everything would get done. As long as I did my job and things would get done, that's all it needed to be done. And that's my problem too. I'm more of a take charge kind of person.
Yeah.
So when somebody tells me, you need to do this, and this, I mean, I'll listen to somebody tell me, but when it's a boss and they don't know what they're talking about and they've never done that job and they're telling me how to do it, then that's where we have an issue.
So that's why you're probably extra bothered by all this red tape type stuff that comes with everything that's happening.
When we went through COVID and they were telling me to keep my mask on, I thought they were taking away my personal rights.
Oh,
yeah.
I mean, I got so angry.
They were.
It was like I was trying to fight the system, and I'd have it down all the time, in my office. Too. And they're like, Vivian, what are you doing? You're supposed to pull that mask up. I said, I'm in an office by myself. Why do I need to wear a mask? That was just like the truck drivers. Tell them they need to wear a mask while they're in the thing.
Yeah.
And even people in their car, I seen, looking at the dummies, one person in a car with a mask on.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nobody else in there.
It was a big, I think that was a big mass. I think that was like a test. Like we were all part of a test.
Yeah,
to see how many people you can control, like how much you can comply.
But ever since that happened, it's kind of like where it comes to this too. So people that's not had real bad nerves or bad problems or depression or anxiety or anything like that. So you go through COVID and you go through this, the presidency where Trump, everything was showing that he had won, the people that voted for him. And you think, there's no way he could have lost. That morning, he's winning that night. When you get up, he lost.
Yeah.
And then that got on my nerves. And then COVID and having to deal with this stuff at work and everywhere we went, wearing a mask. And it was like people was taking everything I had, all my freedoms away.
Right.
And I felt like we were going down the hole. And we was basically for the last several years.
Well, I mean, financially, as far as censorship goes, just everything.
And then